Why do you think you're better off without Boehner than you were with him?
Sure. A year ago, one of the senior Republican congressional aides was talking at a fundraiser of big business groups. And he said, if you give John Boehner 245 Republicans, we'll take the crazies that you hate and make them irrelevant. Nancy Pelosi does not talk about her base that way. Barack Obama doesn't think about his base that way. Harry Reid doesn't govern based on that way. And that's the type of leadership that we had over the last couple of years. The reason that Tom Cole can paint that picture of John Boehner's accomplishments that he painted was for the last 5 years, conservatives in the House have fought tooth and nail to stop John Boehner on his agenda, a so-called grand bargain with Barack Obama that would raise taxes by hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars. Amnesty, which is not what the conservative base wants to do. We need Republican leadership that is showing conservative values, is showing how they can make life better for all Americans, and sending that over to the Senate, sending it to the president's desk, so we can have actual conflict and conversation about the different visions the two parties have. That's not what we've had. We've had to fight our own speaker, and that has ended.
George, is Boehner the problem, and will the next speaker be able to do any more, given the fact that you have 46 Democrats in the Senate so they can sustain a filibuster, and you've got Barack Obama in the Oval Office?
We're going to find out. I think if big changes occur, because Boehner's gone, this will be a huge event. It'll be an even bigger event if it turns out not much changes. Let me give you an analogy. Major League Baseball team has trouble. They can't hit, pitch, or field the ball. So in the middle of the season, they do the only thing they can do in a hurry. They fire the manager. The next game, next day, the new manager walks up to deliver the lineup card to the umpires, and it's the same lineup, the same guys who can't catch, pitch, or field. So the question is this going to make a difference? I think what we're going to learn here is that it's not the person, it's the plan. This is what Mr. Roskam's talking about. Conservatives have to ask, would they rather have, say, Jeb Hensarling managing the flow of the House, or would they rather have him chairing the Financial Services Committee? Same is true with Paul Ryan, who's taken himself out of this because he's head of Ways and Means. Peter Roskam, it seems to me, is absolutely right about one thing. Deep breath, calm down, and let's see if by making stylistic changes, that is how you explain and defend what you're doing, you can make the most of the very little running room you've got. But basically, I think this is a big event because it's not a big event.
So is that what this is about, stylistic changes?
No, I don't think it is. You know, so far this year, the President of the United States has vetoed 2 pieces of legislation. So far this year, the biggest fight that we've had in the Senate was between conservatives and their leadership over the Export-Import Bank. That's not what we need. George is right. This may take more lineup changes. A year and a half, the leadership of the Republican Party was John Boehner and Eric Cantor. 6 weeks from now, neither of them will be in Congress. And if we need more lineup changes to be able to put forth the difference in message that we need to have, then those lineup changes will happen.
I was talking to a top Republican staffer yesterday, and he said, look, here's the problem now with Boehner out. The Republicans are split. They own a government shutdown if it happens. We used to have a weak hand. Now we have no hand at all, because Barack Obama can sit there and the Democrats can sit there and say, you don't want to raise the debt limit? Fine. You don't want to pass a budget? Fine. You own it.
It is accepted that Barack Obama, because he says, I will not defund Planned Parenthood, that there is no chance he will blink off his convictions. When a co-equal branch of government says, I'm sorry, there are not 60 votes in the Senate to fund Planned Parenthood after the barbaric things we've seen them say and do, then everyone's supposed to say, well, Republicans, of course they'll blink off their convictions. Yes, when you have one party that does not hold convictions or is willing to move off them every time, and you have an executive branch that doesn't, Republicans end up blaming. The Republican Party needs, if you can't win the argument, I mean, you don't need to be Lincoln or Churchill, that an organization that has so violated the public trust that they joke about buying Lamborghinis with baby body parts, and you can't win that argument, what argument can you win?
We asked you for questions for the panel, and we got this on Twitter from Brian Maxwell. He gives this advice to the GOP. Grow a spine, stand their ground, and make Obama and the Democrats shut the government down. One, I got to say, I hear this a lot from conservatives. Why do Republicans always get the blame when the government gets shut down? Because obviously both sides play a role in it.
Yeah, well, this, you know, it's an interesting question, and I think you're on target. Is it Brian? Brian. But, Brian, I think you're blaming all Republicans, and in fact, I would point to Michael at Heritage, Senate Conservative Fund. I would point to the Tea Party caucus. When you look at the polls, you know, it's about, I think, 85% of people who self-identify as Tea Party members who say they want no compromise. They want more of what you just heard Michael describe this morning, stand up And if you attach the name Obama to any idea, well, then more Republicans will say, oh, no, we got to fight Obama. But in general, this lack of compromise is something you see from Republicans. You don't see Democrats say, oh, we're going to fight over climate change or minimum wage or immigration. We're going to shut down the government.
They're fighting over funding of Planned Parenthood.
Look, I'm just telling you, you haven't seen it in the past over these issues. That's not typical Democratic Party behavior. It has now. Shutdown, 2013 shutdown, immigration reform, constant threat of shutdown by Republicans.
Juan, can you tell the viewers why it's not a perfectly acceptable compromise to say we are going to cut absolutely no money out of women's health? We are going to take funds that have gone from an organization that I think we can say has violated the public trust. Why is moving money away from Planned Parenthood, which jokes about buying Lamborghinis with the price that we've negotiated for baby, and moving it to separate federally funded women's health centers? Why is that not a reasonable compromise?
Well, first of all, I think this is like, a threat to the entire governance of America over this one issue.
Moving money from one organization to a different federally funded women's health center?
And secondly, in terms of women's health, there simply isn't the structure that would deliver women's health care to low-income people in the way that Planned Parenthood does.
There are thousands of federally funded women's health.
I want to bring Ann into the conversation. And I guess it's so interesting to watch this fight going on, because at a time when Hillary Clinton couldn't be in more trouble and is besieged on the issue of emails, how relieved are they that the Republicans are in a circular firing squad?
Well, I mean, clearly for the Hillary Clinton campaign, any minute that people aren't talking about email and Benghazi is a good minute for her. But the question is, how will she be able to capitalize on it, if at all? Who the Speaker of the House is not particularly material to her or to really, I think, to the current state of the 2016
But you can certainly
debate.
capitalize on the issue of defunding Planned Parenthood.
Absolutely, and they are trying very hard. That is the main thing that they were doing during the last Republican debate. The Democratic, led by Hillary, rapid response was all about every single time the Planned Parenthood issue came up. Well, that was the thing they were highlighting. That's something that the Hillary Clinton campaign sees as a base motivator for them, in much the same way on the opposite end, and it's a base motivator for the Republican candidates who were talking about it. They see nothing but good in highlighting what the Republicans are saying about it.
And Michael, which brings up the question, and you kind of heard this from Jeb Bush in the first segment, saying instead of focusing on this and trying to do things that you're not going to be able to do, why not do everything you can to elect a conservative, pro-life president in 2016?
We should, and we need to do everything we can to elect.
But don't you think some of the things that are being done now are hurting that effort?
No, look, I think people have to be confident to go out there and work the polls and walk precincts and show up and vote, that things are actually going to be delivered. We have seen a Republican president with 55 Republicans in the Senate and control of the House in 2005. I don't remember Planned Parenthood being defunded. And so the notion that if we have the Senate and the House and the Republican president in 2017, all of a sudden we're going to get stuff done. The Republican Congress, when President Bush in 2005 wanted to go forward on Social Security reform boldly, the Republican Congress wouldn't even schedule a vote. And so I think conservatives want to see not just wait and things will be better in 2017. They actually want to see the Congress do the right thing, stick to its principles, and say we are going to shift funds from one women's health organization to another because we're taking them away from the organization that jokes about buying Lamborghinis with baby body parts.
All right.